wherever you may be. I'm telling you, I'm never going to stop doing that. That is an homage to the late, great Bill Schonely. So for those of you in Portland and the Pacific Northwest, you know what that is. You know what that is, wherever you may be. And that's the beauty of doing it this way. Think Northwest now. And we are live on LinkedIn. You can be anywhere in the world. And we are very, very fortunate that we have members all across the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon and in Washington. And we have Idaho members. And we're looking to head out to Idaho very, very soon to meet and greet. And then, I think there might be a trip up to Vancouver, BC, and technically Alaska counts as well. So if you are, but also if you are in Chicago, for example, if you are in New York, if you are in London, and I'm name dropping these cities because we have members and friends and partners all over the country and all over the world. And we're continuing to grow, and it's because of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Doug Zanger, Executive Director of Think Northwest. Before we get to our wonderful guests today, and big topic, this is not a small topic at all. Want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. If you are on our newsletter, or if you are a member, if you are, thank you. You will have noticed that there is a new thinknorthwest.org, thinknw.org. We have flipped the switch, and we're thrilled with where this has landed so far. A much easier way of navigating Think Northwest. You'll be able to see our programs and our honors, including our Marketing All-Stars. We are on tap to have a creativity award in 2024. We will have industry awards coming up as well. Also, industry impact partners. I strongly encourage you to visit. These are organizations that are dedicated to a more equitable industry, and we're partnering with them. Some are based in the Pacific Northwest. Others are based outside of the Pacific Northwest. And we're growing that program as well. Our Think Northwest Next Board. So that's the next generation of great talent. You can learn more about how you could nominate somebody, a young or new person in the industry, to be part of our growth. And then our job board, so much better, so slick, so good, so easy for people to post all of those jobs that you have. So members can do that as well. News and learning, that is where you can see recaps. You can see articles. We've got thought leadership. If you have news to share, get at us for sure. And then also events and experiences. We have the Think Northwest Open coming up September 28th at Langdon Farm, south of Portland. And we have a few sponsorships left. So go to that page and get in touch with us. But also our events and experiences, Thursday, the 20th. So that is a week from tomorrow. It's movie night in Portland, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Let's call that a nice long title. They couldn't just they couldn't just keep it simple, could they? It's Tom Cruise. So part 1, we'll presume there's going to be parts 2, 3, and 12 from there. But this is happening at AMC Progress Ridge. If you know where Big Al's is, out in the Beaverton area, we've got right now I've got 10 tickets left, I think. So click on the link at the site and get in touch with us. And then also Wednesday, the 26th of July, we are talking about the 2026 World Cup in the Pacific Northwest and how brands, agencies, and organizations can plan now and leverage what's happening in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle and Vancouver are going to be well represented during the 2026 World Cup. So lots to cover. If you have questions about the site, if you have questions about membership, it's Zanger, Zanger, at thinknw.org. And then we are going to get into our topic today. And I'm going to bring in our friend Lissa here. Lissa, before we get started, I do want to show a quick video. So I just want to show this real quick. So if you can bear with me 1 second, I'm going to toss this video up and then we'll be right back. All right.
All right.
Okay, so that happened down the street from you in Wilsonville. That's my daughter falling off of a horse for the first time. She got up. She's
Ah,
tough. She's a tough kid. So there you go.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I know right where that is, Doug. And did you get back up on that horse and keep riding?
She always gets back up on the horse. But it was funny because, she said, I didn't do great. I said, you got that out of the way. You got the first fall out of the
Check
way.
that off the
So
list.
yeah.
A
Yeah.
great lead into biz dev conversation.
Yeah, right. It's that, you know what? It was a metaphor. I like unbeknownst to me, I created this metaphor.
You
So
did.
so let's start with I want to start with your background, because what you've created is something very human, very accessible, but it comes from a place of experience. So I'd love for you to share your path and your journey to now.
Oh my gosh. I'll make it short because I'm a long talker, but long story short, um, I was lucky enough to fall into the advertising world when I was 19. Went to college to be an accounting major. Did not like it the first year, took a year off and moved back to New York and worked on Madison Avenue for a big agency as the fill-in for the receptionist and a floater. And which meant I just went around to different departments that needed help. And that gave me the bug of advertising, marketing, and creative. Fast forward to working my way through college for 10 years at small agencies. I was lucky enough to have started at a small agency in Arizona where, again, I was very junior, but the head guy, who was the lead account guy and biz dev, I loved what he did. I loved that he was in his car all day long, driving out to see clients. He was never in the office, and all he did was talk to people and bring work in the door. And I said, I want to do that. And so I just asked, can I just follow you around like every day, twice a week, whatever. And I did. His name is Todd Subney, first person who really I saw, he knows how to do this. Fast forward to working at Opus Creative in Portland, 2000 to 2012. Again, walked in the door. Jim Fletcher, the owner, was like, Intel's our biggest account and others. There's your desk. Here's some client names. Like, go do your thing. My job was bring work in the door. And I really just was lucky to have the support of him, Marty Jacobson at Premier Press, people around me who just encouraged me to go, like, just go figure it out, Lisa. You know what to do. You love to talk to people. That's all this is. Don't get caught up in the stuff. And I had a really big leash to go do that. And I really, truly loved what I did. I had a great team behind me that would do the work that I trusted, but I just was able to kind of figure out, and I learned by falling off the horse a million times too, is what didn't work. But I created my own ways of just, if I knew I was going to talk to people and talk to enough people, work would come in. And that's literally all I thought about. I didn't think about the money. I didn't think about who it was. But, in Portland, we're very lucky to have Intel, Nike, and all the others. We have some big players in our backyard. But that was how I approached my job. I didn't think about, other than that, that was all I focused on. And went to Owen Jones after that, helped grow them. And I really just fell in love with the art of talking to people, building relationships, and how it affects the business. Like, just by doing that, 100% something's going to happen. If you're not talking to anybody, nothing's going to happen. And so I founded Cheerful Persistency around the fact that I love the fact that it takes 8 to 12 times to get a response. I love the fact that the autonomy of doing a role like this is freedom for me, but I love how it impacts the business in such positive ways for the owners. To just keep that work coming in the door with existing clients and net new. So it's just, right. That's the art of kind of what I'm about. And there's so much more to biz dev, but that's the part that tends to be the hardest and tends to be the things people don't find time for because they're busy doing the stuff.
Right. Yep. No, completely understand that. So let's start here. Let's start with the sheer scope and scale of stuff right now related to biz dev. And you touched on something very important. Is focus on biz dev, yet these 20 other things are popping up.
Yeah.
There's so much clutter, but also not just in individuals day to day, but just in this industry in general, right? So when you and I started, it was print, radio, TV, and maybe cable. Right. There's so much clutter. What are you seeing that's causing agencies and clients to get frustrated, to get confused, to get angry, to get sad about the biz dev process? Because it is both sides. Because an agency going to a client, there has to be frustration on both sides.
Yeah. I think from the agency side, really the overwhelming amount of info coming to us, like AI right now, but just news in general, just the amount of incoming communication is just overwhelming. And I think it's easy to get caught up in, do I have to now become an expert at that to go have a conversation? Like there gets to be a confidence issue. If I'm not, exactly know what to say about a certain topic, I'm not ready to talk to people. And I think it tends to freeze people up if they don't feel knowledgeable, which in my opinion is, you got to push that stuff away. It's important to know, but from a biz dev perspective, again, sticking with the basics of consistency, of having a clear target path of who you want to work with, what are the industries, brands, companies, and who's assigned to really be consistent and accountable to that work. It takes a lot of intense focus and discipline to keep those activities happening and not get caught up in the busyness and trying to be the smartest thing and say it the most crafty way. And a lot of agencies get into that space really quickly, and they waste a lot of time on that versus yes, learn, but your business needs you to do this every day. Like your tires need to have air and your car needs gas to go. Like I don't care that you want the new whatever on top. So there's that. And again, it's just a human thing we're all in right now with the amount of digital communication going on. From a brand perspective, there's 14,000 agencies in the United States. It is so confusing for people on the brand side. The way we describe ourselves and talk about ourselves is overwhelming and confusing for them. And I think when the moment in time comes where they want a new agency or they need to make a switch or whatever, just even knowing who to reach out to, like they don't know who we are. They forget who we are. It's very confusing, and it's scary for them too. If they're going to trust, a CMO is going to trust, his career and his job on making a big switch to be successful. Like that's scary for the team. So I just think an overwhelm of information is just, we're all living with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't,
and how, and social and content and lead gen versus outbound versus, there's just so much.
Yeah. And I think that's always been there. The form factor is different because of technology accelerating it so rapidly. But let's park that for a second, because I want to talk about one of the best ways to grow. And I loved this when I was in radio. So I was in radio for 15 years, a lot of it on the creative side of it. And what I loved, and this definitely is applicable to an agency as well, is I saw this at the Martin agency. I saw this agencies that I covered at Adweek and the Drum. One of the best ways to grow an agency is lift. And I loved it. I loved knowing that a client was coming back. I loved knowing that a client was going to give us more, was going to give us more scope. What are ways to maximize opportunities with existing clients, and where do people start with that?
So one of the best things an agency can be doing is creating a relationship and conversation that's above and beyond the work at hand. Whether it's the lead account person or one of the agency principals or a creative director, mapping people at the agency with those key stakeholders on your client side is super key, and creating times, minimum once a month, if not every 2 or 3 weeks, to just simply check in and say, hey, how are you? What's going on? And you'll be surprised what clients will share with you. But the point of doing that is to be kind and human and understand, how are they? Like, how's their job? How's their manager? Is there a big reorg coming? Like, what's bubbling? Especially corporate worlds, there's always something going on in terms of shifts. Creating that space to have a knowledge, understanding of their world. What are their teams struggling with? I found out my clients were going to divorce their spouses before the spouse did, because I'm asking how they are, and honestly, and doing that in a genuine way, because we want to make sure they're okay. Are they happy? And more. So after you hear all that and learning more, there's a trust and there's a relationship that starts to happen. Maybe you talk about kids, maybe whatever, but you've got to create those moments. And those moments could be, hey, I'm popping by a campus real quick. Can we grab 15 minutes in the lobby just to say hi and check in? You will still be so surprised what you'll learn when you say, hey, how are you? What's going on? Vice versa, also add in, how are we? Like, how are you feeling about us and the team? Also, because clients will not tell you when things are going awry. oftentimes will not.
Right.
But creating a safe space where they may go, oh, it's great, but there was that one weird thing that happened
Mm-hmm.
in the presentation where and allowing a moment to hear anything, and you may, or even addressing like, hey, I saw that one thing kind of went sideways early in the week. We got it fixed up, but I just want to acknowledge the fact that our team learned from it. Really being really open and proactive about that, just the proactiveness of learning more about their world and what's coming, because it also opens up the door for future conversations of, again, work opportunities. Where are you guys? What else is going on you may need help with? But I will tell you the reasons why that's so critical is agencies lose clients because of something has happened with the humans. It's not about bad creative. Wine and Kenny doesn't get fired because they're not a fucking cool agency. Wine and Kenny doesn't win every pitch either. It's the people. There's something goes awry with probably a human interaction and sometimes people, there's a reorg on the client side. I've had clients where, man, the person I was working with, we were like, spot on, doing great.
Mm-hmm.
New person comes in and it's oil and water, and you really, it's just like dating. It's the same thing.
Right.
So I think just getting that keeping the door open for conversations above the work, so that you can learn enough to go, okay, what are you all thinking about for the next 3 to 6 months? What are the big things management's really trying to do differently, and how are things going with your other agency partners? I ask that all the time. And to celebrate the fact, like, hey, I'm so glad you're working with CMD and whoever on those different things. So glad, like, that's a great, partner to have. You can also say, if, anyway, that's my opinion on that. Like, creating the conversation is huge. And a lot of agencies don't do that.
Right.
They may do a 6-month check-in or wait for the official whatever. They're not doing those little moments in time consistently.
Right. And one other thing that I've observed, I've seen, experienced is, I've heard clients say, well, all they're trying to do is upsell me. All they're trying to do is upsell me. So let's address that elephant, because yes, every agency wants to grow, yet, and I've heard it at the beginning of relationships where, a month into it, it's like, why are they upselling me? So talk about that a little bit, because that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Well, and I think, Doug, it does come down to the way you do that and making it not be salesy. I think the way I've done it in the past, and again, agencies too, with clients, you kind of enter in usually at a point in time doing 1 or 2 specific things, knowing that your agency does maybe a whole bunch more. I think it's good and it's positive to say, hey, would love to find some time to share with you some of the things we're doing with other clients that have been really successful to help them with their fill in the blank of whatever it is you wish you were doing, but you weren't with them, branding, website, social, whatever. And that way is more like, I just want to share with you how else we could be helping you if and when the time is right for us to have a conversation around it. Just wasn't sure you knew we did that. So it's the way you do it can be super gentle, not pushy. It's just sharing information that they're now informed with. And again, if the relationship is healthy and they're really loving the synergy with the agency team and the client team, odds are you're going to get a shot at talking about things within those areas. Okay, let's talk about how maybe we might need a brand refresh, or we're, competition's eating our lunch and we do need to do some things differently. Let's start talking about that now in a way that is just, you're solving their problem. You're making them be better. You're making them be successful. Make it always be about them. And so when you're sharing that other work or sharing what you could do for them, always have the lens of how is this going to make you successful, make you better in your job, make your company more successful. What needle are you moving for them? That usually is perceived then as, you are just trying to help me be better. And it's okay. And always I'm like, it's okay if you're set with whoever else. Like, that's totally fine. Again, just in case there's a moment in time where maybe they are open for a new partner, you're already top of mind. You're already sold in. You've checked all the boxes. It gets into, let's just sit down and really start talking about what we need to do.
Right.
So I think it's always the words you use and the way you do it. So it means a lot.
Yeah.
Even though it is upselling, it's okay as a business. Be prideful of what you do. Be prideful of sharing the stuff you've done with other clients that has been really good and again, moved a needle for them. but just make it be about them, not boastful about how awesome you are, because there's a million creative agencies that are amazing. There really is. There really is. But
Right.
they care about how you're going to help them at the end of the day.
Yep. I want to move into developing relationships.
Ah, my favorite.
Right. So you had mentioned, new CMO comes in, oil and water. Um, there, and especially in Portland, there are a lot of long-standing relationships
Yep.
and long-standing business that has been done among cohorts. What are the best ways to develop these relationships, whether they're new or old? And let's start with the new relationship.
Okay. You know, I think an agency getting really clear, first of all, on again whom they want to be working with and the industries and whatnot. Um, Getting the right messaging to around identifying who may be at those companies that you may have some type of history or connection with, like focusing in on a little bit of warm and even though they're going to be new, it's like if there's a relevant way for you to um, have a reason to reach out to them. I've also just done cold, where I just have found companies I know that my agency wants to work with, and just sending a note to simply ask to find 20 minutes to say hello. You need to do that, and it's not a bad thing to do that, again, in the right way, where you're saying there's just ways you have to do that too. But also the warm relationship, not to skip over that, I think people do also overlook the fact that most of us in this day and age, if we really sat down for an hour and pulled our LinkedIn first connections, for example, and looked at it and said, hey, you could probably create a short list of 20 to 30 people in senior marketing roles that are at companies you wish you were working with, but you haven't talked to them in a while, or you know of them but don't know them, so they're cold. Back to your new. Um, but you have some type of connection, whether you used to work at the same company back in the day or what have you. But creating that as a targeting in and like making it not be overwhelming too, of creating a short list of cold people you don't know at companies, but you have some connection, and beginning to do some gentle outreach. And outreach and follow up to cold is the number one thing my clients I work with hate to do. And I will tell them it's the most important thing, is but especially to your warm relationships too, of people you haven't talked to in a while, like, hey Bob, gosh, it's been a couple of years, how are you, let's find 20 minutes to catch up. It'd be great to just see, to just catch up on things. Asking for that conversation gently via LinkedIn or an email, if you know them really well, text, like do that. But the cold, it's okay to do that. And I will tell you, you're gonna get, all they're gonna do is this: ignore you, say no thank you, I'm busy, I don't have time, or yes, let's find a time, or hey, I'm not the right person to talk about that, but talk to whoever. And usually
Mhm.
when I'm reaching out, there's a little bit of a, we have common connections in the marketing industry or what have you. And I don't say anything about sales. All I'm trying to do is just say, hey, I would love to just find time to say hello and learn about your role at blah blah blah. Especially with LinkedIn nowadays, you can pretty much see about people's lives. Are they parents? Do they have kids? Where do they live? Whatever. You can usually find a common connection or something to
Right.
hold in there. And so the cold, doing that gently is important. And then, but
Right.
with your warm too, we don't want to neglect the warm.
Yeah, and let's go to like the long-standing relationships, because there is a school of thought that sometimes there's too much comfort in those types of relationships.
Right.
Sometimes I don't want to say there's an atrophying of uh, ambition or things like that, but that's a very interesting thought that you've had this client for 15 years, and so I'm not trying to make people feel paranoid or anything, but sometimes that may not necessarily always be a great thing, if that makes sense,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I'm curious about how that manifests, because in Portland, and and I would say in Seattle, and probably all over the country and all over the world, there are
Mhm.
lots of relationships like that.
There is, and I think, and sometimes, and there just is. This is, it's true. I think, especially with the larger organizations, people don't always realize, like Wyden Kennedy's AOR for Nike. Nike has probably 500 other agency partners they work with, at least. Um, Also, depending on what your agency is doing and what is success for you to go work with folks, like just because there's an incumbent that's been there for forever doesn't mean there's not other opportunities. So I always like, don't make assumptions as to who, when there's no opportunity because of that legacy. But I think too, if you are, especially if there's been a moment in change with leadership, it is a moment in time to reach out to that new CMO. Like, take that change in leadership as an opportunity where there might be a shift, or they might relook at things. And they may not, but also don't assume there's not other opportunity there. You know, agencies I've worked with all had Intel, Nike, Adobe, all the big names, you know, on their roster. And there's millions of dollars of work there to be had. Just because you're not AOR doesn't, you know, mean anything necessarily. So don't, but I do think that stagnant relationship, and maybe people are really innovative in the agencies and the people are moving along, but it just does create an opportunity to introduce some fresh thinking, and sometimes asking for that chance of, hey, and doing a little proactive, I used to call it ideas on a page, a picture and 3 bullet points. Like, let's tee up like 3 new ideas we kind of are observing that brand could be doing better or differently. Not to be critical of the team or the agency, but just more in a positive, proactive, like, hey, have you thought about da 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 da? That doesn't take too much effort on an agency's part to do. We could all brainstorm 3 ideas. And maybe that's a way you enter into a conversation of, hey, we've been thinking about your brand and observing you. Here's this. Again, you're trying to just get a conversation a lot of time in biz dev too, before you start selling in anything. We're just trying to learn about you, the team, the role, challenges you're facing, if even that. So we didn't even really touch on that, Doug, but the whole thing with biz dev too is like, you aren't selling people on day one. It's like dating, right? You don't talk about your wedding on the first date. Like, that would freak people out. So, you know, it's just how
no
the
comment.
goal of a lot of biz dev with the cold is just
Right.
to get a time to talk, and don't make any assumptions based on their job title or anything. You don't know anything. Like, go in eyes and ears wide open to just hearing about their role and their team and who are they working with. And it's also good to know they're working with other good agencies, which means they've been hopefully know how to work with an agency, versus clients that are like startups and you have a team of people that has never worked with an agency and you go into a brand project. That's super fun. So
Yeah. We touched on Clutter.
Yeah.
We touched a little bit on shiny things. There's lots of shiny things out there. Lots and lots of shiny things out there. How can people focus on what really matters most without getting
So
sucked into that?
here's the mindset and mentality. And again, I say owner, but I mean leadership team or account team or whomever is in charge of, you're on the front lines with clients. You've got to make so first of all, relationships are king in this industry. They're king of who you know, who knows you, even if you haven't worked together in a few years. Just having some type of, you're top of mind, you're credible, you know, when the 2 people out there in the ether is key. And the way to do that, it's just like getting up and brushing your teeth. I call them revenue generating activities for your business. It's the most important thing you should be thinking about first thing in the day. Get those activities. And by activities, I mean set aside dedicated time on your calendar to be doing the outreach and follow up and relationship touch points with your warm and your cold network. That you're, you know, the warm is who you're already kind of in conversation with, or you know them and you've created that short list and you're checking in. You're looking at their social posts, you're liking, sharing, commenting, you're touching them in some way. Those are all little relationship building moments in time that, again, start to create an awareness, a connection. Okay, they're seeing you active with them. Doing that and making that be really critical, just like for our own health. I know, you know, walking first thing in the day or eating healthy for a lot of us, like, we got to take care of ourselves first to be good people. It's the same thing with your business. The new business, and by new business with existing clients or net new, doing those critical activities to just stay connected and in some way be doing something positive and proactive to have a conversation, you know, nurture that along is key. If you do nothing, then nothing's going to happen. But new business and all this, it's all about activity, to get enough activity to get a response, to get a conversation, get enough conversations to get proposals and win the business. but it starts with that activity. And it nowadays, I think the latest stat is like 8 to 12 times to get a response. And that's from people you might know. One of my best clients, it takes me forever to get a response because he's super busy, and he doesn't, and he freaking does not only doesn't want to meet with me, it's just he's busy. And so I think having consistency, persistency, and tenacity to just focus and be diligent and consistent on tracking to who you're reaching out to, noting your follow-up dates, and holding yourself accountable to do that work, that is mandatory. And that those things are all, like, and I call them revenue generating activities that are the most important thing you should get done in the day. I say do it in the morning because we all know you get into the day and you get pulled into meetings and you're not going to do it. But by doing just some basic proactive things, and how I coach my clients, like, do that work, do the outreach, ask for the meeting, and then they start getting the conversations and get the meetings. It will affect your business. You will get more times at bat. You will get more work. And it may not be today, because we also know luck and timing is a huge part of business. Yep. But if you haven't been doing that nurturing along the way, you know, by doing it, you're already at the top of the list. They know, love, and trust you. They already know, you're not having to do a big brouhaha. You get to the point of conversation a lot quicker.
Right. No, right. Makes sense. Reminder to anybody that's joining us live, if you have questions, put them in the comments. They're on LinkedIn, and we will do our best to answer them for you. Let's talk about emotion. It is very, very easy to get sucked into the pit of despair that is negativity, right? Rejection is a part of everything. Let's just be honest, whether it's business, whether it's life, not to get too philosophical about this thing. But biz dev can be exhausting. The question here is, how can people shift to a more positive mindset instead of it being an energy suck? How can it be an energy giver?
So that's a really good question. And it's the most common space I start my conversations with clients and prospects in my consulting. First of all, I just want to acknowledge sales is not easy, and biz dev is sales. It's not for the faint of heart, and it is tough. And we all get that talk in our head at times. But how you can flip that into a positive is, already know some people are not going to want to talk to you and work with you. Just get that out of the way. Like, okay, fine, then I don't want to work with you either. That's cool. But be prideful again about your company and what you've done with other clients, and going in with that energy of, all I'm trying to do is reach out to you and have a conversation and get to know you and your team and learn more about how you use agency partners and yada, yada, yada. Knowing that it's okay to do this. Like, it's not bad to do outreach to people and check in. A lot of clients will tell me they'll call me if they need me. And I'm like, no, they won't, because they forget who we are. Even existing clients, like, over the years, I can't tell you how many times I've had clients say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you guys did that. And I was like, oh my God, I've taught you about that like 12 times. Like, I know I have. But it's human nature again. And so I think getting over ourselves around, oh, they don't want to, I sent 2 emails and they didn't respond, so they don't want to talk to me. Or I've heard they're horrible to work with, so I'm not going to reach out to them. That could be like 3 CMOs ago. And again, it comes down to the humans of, like, the agency and the client, and maybe it was a bad relationship. So ignore the gossip, ignore your assumptions that you're already making up. Okay, they don't need me, they don't want to talk to me, whatever. It is kind of a head game of just saying, look, for my business, just like going to the gym. None of what I'm saying is anything new or magical, but it's the same analogy as if you go to it, we all know to go to the gym. We all know to go do these reps and do the things and do 3 sets of 10 of everything. And we all know in our brains, right, what to do to go get healthy or eat healthy. But if we aren't held accountable to actually go do that work, nothing is going to happen. Like, we're not going to affect change on our health or anything. So the same thing is with biz dev. Again, back to that consistent activity and outreach where I get excited for like the 8th email. I get excited for the 10th or LinkedIn touch. You will get responses. It's a numbers game, and it's activity is a numbers game, and to get responses. If you do enough 100 outreaches, 10 responses, 2 appointments. It's basic sales math. So get over the fact about someone saying no or ignoring you. Get excited about the fact when they actually say yes, or they respond and they say, hey, I'm not the one, but go talk to Bob. Bob's the guy to talk to. Here's his email.
We love Bob.
Hey, email me. You will get yeses. Just it's a reality. Again, if sales was easy, we'd all be retired and millionaires living in Hawaii. If all of this was easy, we wouldn't be talking about it. But it takes effort, just like advertising for the clients we all work with.
Right.
How much money do they spend to touch us, hundreds of times with ads before we're going to buy their thing? It's the same thing. And so I think it is something to just, how I say get over it, getting the right wording, getting people's confidence up and getting their comfort level with, let's just try saying things some different way. And know it just takes some time. It takes multiple efforts. And then when you get those responses though, and get those conversations scheduled, it's exciting and it works. And again, then the work does come in. You do again enough times to get at that, and you'll get work.
I will say that we've got we do have a question.
Oh.
So I'm going to pop it up on the screen, and it's from Brian Gotts from Serenity Studios. Sidebar.
Who did your website, right?
They did our website.
Yeah.
So this is a good question. What are your thoughts on contacting existing happy clients about referrals? Any advice on that? And I will say that our experience with Serenity was very, very, very positive. You can see the results of that.
Oh my gosh, Brian, absolutely. All day long, man, do that. All day long, say, hey, especially like bigger corporate organizations, we love working with you and your team. Like, who else should we be talking to? Are there people in other groups that kind of need what we do? I'd love, to talk with them as well. Clients, people always want to help people. So all day long, do that, or ask them again of other companies they may know. They may be friends with the CMO of a different, company or whatever. All day long, and those moments in time to ask for those referrals are in those regular check-ins you're having with your people, with your clients. Like, again, celebrate the work, be thankful to them, and then ask, like, who else can we be, should we be talking to, and who else could be help on your team or in the organization, especially the corporate ones where those teams are usually working in silos, like they're in their own little world. So asking for that super powerful, low-hanging fruit, absolutely, do it all day long. It just can't be your only strategy. I just say that. And again, biz dev is like multiple things in the toolbox.
Right.
There's not a silver bullet. So all these things matter, but I just read some stat, gosh, I forgot where I think 90% of clients would happily give a referral to their agency, but only 10% of agencies actually ask for it. Because people say they feel like they're being needy. It's like, you're not being needy. You're a business owner, man. You guys are wanting to just thrive and bring in more work for your teams and do better creative work to help businesses. And it's an okay thing to do. And again, the wording of how you do it can be super simple and kind and humble. But 9.9 times out of 10, they will absolutely refer you.
Yeah, I love it. One more question, and again, thank you, Brian. And again, if anybody has a question that's on with us live, please feel free to pop it into the comments, and we'll see about getting that answered. Final question that I have: every company, every agency will go through its peaks and its valleys. The goal, obviously, to some degree, is consistency. Well, actually, to a large degree is consistency. How can agencies keep their revenue more consistent? And what have you seen specifically that tends to work well?
I think really coming down to when you're having those check-ins with your client and really doing the future thinking conversations around what's coming up, like what are the focus for the next quarter or two? What are the initiatives you need help with? Are we going to continue on what we're doing? Is there new things? And being suggestive about areas you may want to work with them as well. But by doing that, especially larger corporate ones where their budget cycles are usually by quarter, and you need to get things on a line item somewhere, right? Like, you need to understand, like, if you're pitching like a campaign to support a new product launch. So asking all those questions are seasonal, like Nike's a big seasonal holiday, back to school. Being really that future thinking conversations that supports planning that new work that's 2 to 6 to 9 months out, that's filling the pipeline, that you already know is coming, you're already part of the conversation, that's really critical to do. And then blended with the activities of the outreach and nurturing, and hope that luck and timing when you're going to actually get, asked to respond to an RFP or asked to do a proposal. But with clients, like that nurturing of your existing, and really not just waiting for them to come tell you what the next project is, but you are really consistently talking about the future is key. And that's how I've helped my teams. We have grown when I was at the agencies. That's how you grew those clients. You were always, and I would have my team, I would coach them, project managers, account people, whatever, always create time and space to be talking about not what's happening right now, but what is going to be happening in the future. And that is one of the most powerful things you can do to control and have a pipeline of new work and be on top of it and ahead of it. And it's, again, a lot of agencies don't do that. And small agencies, it's tricky to be accountable for the work at hand and then also be looking up and beyond, which is why sometimes those most senior people that are not in the thick of the everyday are the best ones to be having those conversations, because they're not worried about getting the thing out the door by 5. And that gets to be a trick, right? Like project managers and things, they're
5. What agency is that?
You know what I mean?
7?
But really, that in of itself is a huge thing that really can just affect the pipeline and business and revenue for consistency. And again, understanding what's happening with the business. Is there reorgs coming? Is there, just knowing what's happening at a higher level really informs you of where opportunity might be, and also where things might be going awry. So you can, again, start, do the other to start having alternate clients in the pipeline for future engagement to help offset.
Yep. I'm popping this down there so people know
Yeah,
where to find
thank you.
cheerfulpersistency.com. I'm just going to sit there for a second. What else is on your mind?
I want to say where that came from, and I want, because there is a story behind this. Pam Didner, who used to be one of my Intel clients, who's a fabulous speaker, trainer gal now within B2B marketing. Again, one of those with clients, I would just stay in touch all the time. I would stay in touch, not just because there was work at hand. I would stay in touch with people. If I work with them and like them and we had a good energy, I would check in every few months. Hey, how's it going? How are you? Just want to see how your world is. Would love to, let's catch up and say hi. Or maybe not even that, but just checking in. And I was at Opus Creative, and she, one time she said, Lisa, and she was a great client, but we had work. It would ebb and flow. Like we had 7 and 6 months of nothing, and then whatever. And she said, Lisa, I just love the fact that you just check in no matter what. You're not just talking to me when I have money with your agency and work in the door. You check in, you just check in, like you care. Like and we're still close friends to this day. And so the importance of that really said something to me. And it also was what I did. Like I have tons of clients that it would be years in between working together. Can I tell a quick story? Because the importance of this?
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories too about staying in touch and cheerful persistency with people that are not just, at Opus Creative, a guy named Dan Harbison, and some of you on the line might know who he is. He was a radio guy, I think, for a while too.
I know Dan.
He was at Opus Creative. He was a project manager gazillions of years ago. Came in and was on the team, whatever. Then he moved on to the Blazers, and he launched a lot of million things.
Yeah.
And it had been a number of years. You kind of stay in touch, but a number of years. But we'd always kind of check in. But he landed at Nike, and I knew he was there, and we had tried to get coffee a few times, didn't work out. And then I knew he had shifted over to Jordan Brand, and again, tried to get lunch and have coffee, and finally locked it down. And I, went to lunch, and we're chatting about their kids and how are things and what's like moving back from Las Vegas and all the things. And at the end of lunch, and I was at Owen Jones at this point, which he knew other people at Owen Jones, David Low Rockstead and some others. And so he was like, in the lunch, he was like, so I don't really know what Owen Jones does, but he was like, I hate my current agency, and I'm going to put the digital business all up for RFP. And I was like, do you guys do that? And I was like, hell, of course we do that. Yes. And he was like, okay, I'll loop you in. So it was us, RGA, AKQA, and I think somebody else. And and so again, I didn't know that was going to happen at lunch. I had
Right.
no idea. And the agency honestly wasn't set up to exactly do that work either. But you know what? And Rusty, the owner of Owen Jones, was like, Lisa, we have no shot in hell to get this thing. Like, what? And I was like, no, we're showing up. We're gonna learn about the RFP. We're gonna go through the motions. We're like, why not? Like, why would we not? Anyway, we ended up winning the business and Owen Jones. And so and had it for they still have it. But it was
Right.
one of those things where again, I went in eyes wide open, not knowing. I didn't care if I had work coming out from Dan. I just knew I loved him and he's a good guy. We always got along. I just wanted to connect and learn and have a conversation and catch up. And that's my point. So the fact that I'd done that again, and it took like 10 or 12 times to like figure out a date and the back and forth and cancel and all that. The tenacity and persistency in new business to just show up and have a conversation with someone is where you start. And don't overthink it and don't get all turned into a science project if you have to go in with thought leadership and have all these smart things to say. Just have a conversation with people. You never know where it's going to go.
Right.
And
no, it's true.
He didn't know anything about the team, but he trusted me to go, well, I've worked with you and I know you're great. And if you tell me you guys are great, then I know you got it. And so again, that's that relationship part of, but it was like, you would know that was not a clear path to how that agency
Right.
got that work at all. So I also too, there's not, the path to new business is not straight and narrow and it's not one way. It's a lot of different ways and there's no one perfect way. But doing the work, doing the outreach and follow up and be consistent and persistent. If you start doing that, you will get results. It's just like exercising. If you walk around the block enough times and eat healthy, something's gonna shift.
Yep. One more from Brian here, and we'll keep this one relatively quick because I think
Okay, I'll
what
talk
tools and strategies do you recommend to find and connect with new CMOs and marketing directors? LinkedIn Premium or something else?
LinkedIn's the best way, Brian. Sales Navigator, and there's ways where you can sort and really get all the filters and things to really narrow in. I use LinkedIn exclusive heavily.
And you can use let me do a quick plug here. You can use the community function, which I forgot to mention, on the new thinknw.org. You can create your own public or private groups, network with members. There is no copy sitting in front of me. I'm just saying this off the top of my dome. But that is one of the most powerful features of the new thinknw.
I love it.
.org. But yes, LinkedIn, I agree.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, why not? What else is on your mind?
I just want everybody to know, like, working at agencies and doing biz dev is not easy. It's just a hard get, and it's not just the title of a biz dev person to do biz dev either at small agencies. Consider it like it can be anyone in the sense of who's the best person to have a conversation with the person at the company you want to work with. Sometimes you kind of matchmake. I would matchmake a lot. I would
I love
Rusty, creative director, to go talk to creative guy, and they're going to talk.
Yeah.
It's not always us in the role of that title. You're almost like an MC of ceremonies and like matchmaking. So
yeah, I get that.
But I will just leverage your relationships, do outreach and follow up consistently to just have conversations, fish where the fish are with your existing clients and blow those clients up. And just don't make assumptions. Don't get in your head about assuming what is what, because you don't know.
No, you don't know. Should we watch my daughter fall off a horse again?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let's do. I like the little KGON going on in the background.
We're rocking out.
Yeah, classic rock going on right now. So the metaphor we've decided to adopt today is, you know what? You're going to fall off the horse, get back up.
And just, even if you do 5 outreaches, just do 5 proactive things to connect with people. Just take little baby steps you can get results pretty quick. You just got to do it.
Yep. And also a great book by Dr. Leo Marvin, Baby Steps, if you recall the film What About Bob?
Oh, Doug.
I'm an idiot. I know.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're
well,
great.
Well, ask around. Lissa, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so
Oh,
much for being a great supporter and member of Think Northwest. We just I love the energy. I love the
uh,
fact that you're on board on this. Well, it's not quite a rocket ship yet, but we're getting there.
heck
But
yeah.
no, I really
Oh,
appreciate all of your support.
well,
And again, I do want to encourage everybody, even just reach out to say hi,
yeah.
cheerfulpersistency.com.
Yeah.
Uh, spend some time with Lisa. If you are in the Portland area, go grab a little nosh, a
Awesome.
little
Yeah.
coffee, a little something, something.
And if anybody has any questions or wants to just follow up afterwards, just
Yep.
ping me on LinkedIn and we'll get time to chat.
All
So
right.
thanks,
Amazing.
Doug, for having
Great.
me. Super
All right.
fun.
Yes. No, thanks for joining us. And to all of you out there joining us live, to those of you who are catching up on the replay, thank you so much for joining us. And as a reminder, thinknw.org. And you always can get in touch with me at Zanger, Zanger, at thinknw.org on behalf of our board at Think Northwest. I love you all so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. All of our partners, all of our members, and all of our supporters. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.